Do you think Oscar Pistorius deliberately killed his girlfriend, or do you think it was a tragic accident? Will he be able to get a fair trial given his international fame? And will this case replace OJ as the latest trial of the century? It's Your Call looks at the Oscar Pistorius murder case right now. Loved ones continue to mourn the loss of Reva Steenkamp, shot and killed in early February by her boyfriend, Olympian Oscar Pistorius. But the questions surrounding her death are sure to linger well into the future. Did he murder her, as prosecutors allege, shoot her in a rage, or was he shooting at an intruder, as he claims? Do you think all of this was just a horrible accident? Well, we may never know, but we'll surely analyze this case and give you a chance to weigh in with your thoughts this hour. Hello, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Lynn Doyle. You know, this case is already captivating us, and it's happening on the other side of the world. It has all of the makings of the next trial of the century in that it involves an internationally known athlete, a revered national hero, a beautiful woman, and unanswered questions about what really happened the night she died. And it's also reminiscent of another case that we covered here on It's Your Call, the O.J. Simpson trial. Do you think the Oscar Pistorius case will get as much coverage? And if so, can he really get a fair trial? Will his case divide the world like the O.J. case did? Well, if you want to tell us what you think, you can start emailing me right now at lynn@lynndoyle.net. We brought together a great panel of legal experts to analyze this case, as well as to compare it to the O.J. Simpson trial. They include the prosecution side, Sadie LaDove, who, as you know, is a partner in the law firm of Dolchin, Slotkin and Todd. She's a former Bronx, New York prosecutor and a past chancellor of the Philadelphia Bar Association. She's joined on the prosecution side by Paul Riley, who's an attorney with Brookman, Rosenberg, Brown and Sandler, who was also a former Philadelphia assistant district attorney for 10 years. Representing the defense perspective, Jeffrey Evan Gold, who is a criminal defense attorney with the law offices of Gold and Associates, who is a former New Jersey prosecutor, along with Danny Savalas, a criminal and civil attorney who is also an adjunct professor at Drexel University and a well-known media legal analyst. Everybody, great to have you here.
Great to be here, Lynn.
Wonderful to have you back with us. I'm going to start with Sadie, who was the very first lawyer I ever talked with about the O.J. Simpson case. Taking a look at this from the prosecution perspective, how strong a case does the South African district attorney have against this guy?
It's a fairly strong case, and I don't want to play into the defense's hands, but you do have the problem with your lead investigator, very much like O.J., having some taints in their past and also engaging in some poor evidence collection issues. But you have Pistorius in the house, gun, woman, bathroom, closed door, and intruder. How many intruders hide in the bathroom? Not a hard case to prosecute.
Okay.
Some funky issues, though.
From a defense perspective.
No. You've got a judge in South Africa at the initial bail hearing saying it isn't such a great case. So guess what? It's not such a great case. We really don't know. That evidence was botched. The lead investigator has now been charged with attempted murder in another case. He's walking through the crime scene without his little booties on. There's going to be a lot of questions here. And he's a national hero. Put those things together, state's got a hard case.
And one thing I wanted to talk to Paul about was the fact that South African law and the way it will address this murder case is different than American law and how it addressed the O.J. Simpson trial.
Yeah, it couldn't be more different, and I think that's a significant issue. Jeff mentioned that a judge has already decided. Oddly enough, under South African law, a judge is the only one who's going to decide this case. There are no jury trials. One of two things happens. Either you go to a magistrate judge like the last fellow who just heard the bail hearing, and it's only in the bail hearing or its sentencing that you talk about premeditation. You don't have to prove that to prove him guilty. However, if that judge decides, well, this is too big a case, it goes to a higher court. A higher court is a judge and two Joes off the street. They're called assessors, and they can overrule him on factual issues. So it's going to be decided by a judge, not a jury, and that's a significant difference from Simpson.
Is that good for Oscar Pistorius or any defendant to have a judge and to, as Paul puts it, Joes off the street, or does it actually hurt him?
Here's the general consensus when it comes to judge versus jury trial. Typically, criminal defense attorneys are weary of judge-only trials because with a jury, you need only one. Only one person to deadlock, one person to say, I have reasonable doubt. With a judge, you're convincing one. And a lot of these judges are ex-district attorneys, and I think the general consensus, although it's not official, is that judges will lean more towards conviction. But mathematically, with a jury, you've got 12, and you only need to convince one. Is that the same in South Africa? We shall see. But I will add that, once again, here we go again, there have been already facts that have come out that are highly disputed. First of all, this roid rage we heard about, probably not the case. The original fighting, now we can't even say for sure it was male versus female screaming. A lot of these initial facts may eventually be proven not to be true, and we saw a glimpse of that at the preliminary hearing, which was the bail hearing.
That was a media circus.
Absolutely.
Has to be a nightmare for all involved.
Yeah, it really does remind us of OJ. Fortunately, the judge in South Africa had a tad more control over the happenings in the courtroom over Judge Ito, who let the media and the attorneys run roughshod over him. But I think once we get to trial, the judge is going to be hard pressed to keep the press out.
You know, just you'd brought up the fact that the leader, somebody did, about the lead investigator has his issues. But here's why that's so different from Simpson. The lead investigator in Simpson, it was shown, didn't like people of color.
Right.
Coincidentally, that's what O.J. Simpson was. In this case, it's almost a red herring because they're saying a whodunit.
Well, wait a minute.
It's not.
I'll tell you why.
The lead investigator in OJ, may have, in preparing a script for a movie 9 or 10 years earlier, used the N-word. This investigator accused of attempted murder, and he's missing bullet casings or bullets in the toilet. You can't compare this to OJ. The other reason you cannot compare this case to OJ is clearly OJ, and we're all going to laugh, was technically a whodunit. I know, I agree. But this is not a whodunit. This is a different variety that we call the why they done it. And he's going to have to explain why he done it.
And here's a problem with Oscar. Oscar had episodes of domestic violence in the past. Although the charges were withdrawn, I understand the problem is that people are going to, look at Oscar and say, this is a guy who has an issue with women. This is a guy who may have issues because of his physical condition. So he could be the kind of guy who picks up a gun and fires through a door.
You know, and I don't want to beat the dead horse, but I'll tell you right now, as a prosecutor, yeah, it probably was bad choice words. As a prosecutor, if my choice is an investigator who's accused of killing someone during the course of another case, or an investigator who's accused of planting evidence on someone of a race that he's absolutely made clear he does not like, I'll take the first guy, because he may very well have, in the line of duty, done something.
The red herring.
I'm going number
it's a
two.
red herring.
The red herring was not here. Was in OJ. Here you've got a guy who the state is stuck with. They're stuck with him. He investigated. Nobody else can say what he did and what he didn't do. They can't get around him. They actually could have got around Furman, but here they can't. They're stuck with him. And I'm going to tell you something else too. I don't think it's going to be as much of a media circus as OJ, because it's going to be a judge. It's not going to be as long a proceeding as OJ in any way, shape, or form. You've seen a taste of what's going to happen. It won't be as short as the preliminary hearing, but it won't be as long as OJ either. So we'll see. And I think that they have a poor case, actually.
Okay, so let's dissect the case then and talk about why you think it's poor and why the prosecution feels that it has a pretty strong case and can prove that this was not an accidental shooting. From the prosecution perspective, what do they need to put forward so that the judge and the assessors, without a shadow of a doubt, believe that this was a deliberate act? What's on the side of the prosecution that would lean in that direction?
There's something none of us know yet. I want to see the ballistics. I want to see the angle of those bullets.
That's right.
Because remember, his utterly ridiculous story is he wakes up in the middle of the night believing the person he's supposed to protect is next to him, not of course looking and seeing and saying, honey, run, or honey, hide under the bed, and then he goes and gets his handy gun and starts firing into a bathroom where all people who burglarize a house are hiding. Now, if you can prove, and we don't know this, that he was shooting at a downward angle because he had his artificial legs on, he's got a big problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
The question
he
is
says
credi-
he
the
did.
question is
He had to
credibility.
take the time
Yeah.
to put those things on.
That's right.
No, none of us know the answer to that. In
No,
fact,
that's right.
none
And,
of us.
when we know that, we'll know a little more about the
That's
strength
right.
of that
Yeah.
case.
And-
but
and-
that's still circumstantial.
And no matter how quickly, because it's repetitive motion for him to put the blades on, it still takes time. So while, there's allegedly an intruder hiding in the bathroom, you take the time to strap on your legs, and then if what you say is so, Paul, and the angle is higher because he's taller and he's shooting down, you'll excuse the expression, he's dead.
It's just one piece. It's just one piece of evidence.
He's
It's just one piece
he's
of
got
evidence.
problems, Jeff.
But
We're going to
there's
talk
all-
about the other evidence in just a minute, but I do want to invite the viewers to be part of our discussion. We want to ask you what you think really happened that night. Do you think that he absolutely intended to kill his girlfriend? And do you buy his story about a feared intruder? And do you think he can get a fair trial? Do you see any similarities between his case and the O.J. Simpson case? If you want to tell us what you think, you can email me directly right now at lynn@lyndoyle.net. You can also find us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. We're going to have a lot of your comments, a lot of them coming in when we come back from this break. Stay with us.
That's the way I go.
Oscar Pistorius, the so-called Blade Runner, is now facing the toughest race of his life. This time, the opponent is the prosecution in South Africa, where he's facing first-degree murder charges. Already there are comparisons between his case and the upcoming trial and that of O.J. Simpson, who, like Oscar, was a national hero when he was charged with killing his ex-wife, Nicole Brown. So what have we learned in the 20 years since the O.J. trial that might be helpful in watching as this new trial of the century unfolds? Well, that's just one of the topics that we're covering on this edition of It's Your Call. I'm Lynn Doyle. Already the comments are coming in from Facebook, particularly where people have shared their thoughts with us. We're going to get to them in just a moment, but I want to go back to the defense perspective here and find out what that side of this issue feels is the strongest case to defend Oscar. If you were defending him, what would the first piece of information be that you would put out there?
Several things. First of all, you go to the law, right? In South Africa, you have that premeditated murder, but it's probably pretty certain. You see from the original hearing, the bail hearing, they may already be setting up a culpable homicide sort of admission. Not an out-and-out admission, but look, in South Africa, if your brakes don't work and you crash into somebody and kill them, that could be culpable homicide. So they may be saying, you got us on that. If I'm defending this case, I may say, let's take the hit on the culpable homicide because their sentencing guidelines are nothing like ours. He could potentially serve no actual sentence for culpable homicide. So that's the way I line this up from the outset, just get us out of premeditated murder land.
So why is it so hard for people to believe that this could be an accident? Because as a defense attorney, that would be the biggest obstacle and hurdle that you would have to overcome.
Well, I don't know about that, because we have judges here. They understand that there's a burden on the government here to prove it, and they're going to make the government prove it. And what we have is a defendant who has tremendous celebrity. And whenever you have celebrity, think of O.J., think of Michael Jackson, think of people that we thought there was a lot of evidence against, but hey, juries didn't think so. I don't think judges are immune from that either. You're going to give him the benefit of the doubt because he's a celebrity.
Okay, we're going to ask our viewers if they agree with that. Do you think it was an accident, and do you think his celebrity will help or hurt him as Oscar moves forward in addressing the case presented against him? Let's go to Facebook and check in with some of our It's Your Call viewers. Joanne says, I want to think it was an accident, but sadly I think it was intentional. However, she notes that they were an absolutely beautiful couple. Ron says, we don't have all the facts, but he lives in a gated community with her. She wasn't in bed when he got up, and instead of waiting for someone to come out of the bathroom for him to verify that it was an intruder, he just opened fire. Sam asked this question. Philadelphia averages about a murder a day, so what makes one in South Africa more important than that? You know, Sam, that's a really good question. I think it's because of the celebrity that is involved with it, probably, which is why we have so much, paying so much attention to it.
Absolutely, and that is what will drive this as a story. None of us would be talking about it if he wasn't the Olympic Blade Runner. But you know, you mentioned something about the killing, the negligent killing. You're right, he's going to do that, but they don't have to prove premeditation at trial. That's the unusual thing here. You don't have to prove any premeditation until sentencing. All they have to prove is that he intentionally fired in that door to kill someone on the other side. And you know what? I think they could make an argument that if it was a burglar under their law and he intended to kill him by shooting, he didn't shoot once. He emptied the gun.
That's right.
Yeah, but
okay?
But then again, intent to kill, can that be inferred from shooting at a door? You're right, ballistics are going to matter a lot, your angle. But if whatever angle it ends up being, if it's inconclusive, he could always make that argument that I was intending to fire warning shots, and I'm the worst shooter of all time.
If you're shooting into a bathroom 4 times.
What's going to matter is what was on the bottom of the shoes of the investigator when he didn't wear booties and went in there, because there could be DNA or hair or whatever else from other people, and that will cast a great doubt on what happened and whose story is right. Do we all think that it happened the way Oscar said it? Probably not, if we all said to ourselves, is that likely? But that's not the standard here. A judge is going to have to determine whether or not the state can prove it. And with that